Hello, I'm William Jamal Wright,
And I'm Hattie.
and this is our podcast, HattieJo. What are we doing? So, how are you doing?
Doing all right. How are you doing?
Doing great. Summer's kind of coming to a close. New school year is kicking off, so excited about that. And so, yeah, ready to get going.
And a new school and everything.
So our topic for today is we're going to be talking about merit for pay for teachers. And so at my previous employer, Great Hearts, actually every summer, after every school year, they gave us kind of like a little extra bonus just for like they have different metrics that you get evaluated on throughout the whole entire year. Um, and I wasn't aware. Apparently, this is state money, so the state gives like charter and public schools a little bit of like just kind of an educational money that they're able to. From my understanding, this is what I think happens. I don't know like the actual, but I think it's like an educational like little fund for saying, hey, like you've done a good job and this is kind of extra money, a little bonus per se. And so I wanted to kind of talk about like, first of all, I know in your world, like you get every year there is kind of a bonus structure that gets set out. And so I just wanted to kind of talk about merit for pay, kind of a bonus structure for teachers. What do we think should be included? What should not be included for teachers? And just kind of wanted to have a discussion about it because it's definitely something that I think is coming up or that is currently in Arizona. And I think something that I've seen in different places where like government officials and things like that are really trying to kind of push merit for pay structures in education and government, and so just kind of have a conversation about it.
Yeah, and I think that brings up in my mind, two distinct kind of themes.
Mm-hmm.
One is the concept of merit for pay, and the other is, okay, if we choose to move forward with it, what would that look like? How would we do that? And to me, I think the concept of merit for pay for something like a teacher, I want to preface this with, I think teachers should be paid more.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that teachers should not receive merit for pay or teachers should not receive a bonus of some kind. I think they should just baseline be paid more.
Uh-huh.
But right now, the system that exists, we get teachers who teach for the love of teaching, right? No one's in it for the money.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to create, that would be my only fear of like a merit for pay situation, would be to create an incentive for people that maybe aren't called to teaching and maybe shouldn't be teachers to try to be teachers. And hopefully the system would be such that they would just be bad, right? Like the people that shouldn't be teachers don't do well as the people that should be. And in a merit for pay structure, they're at the bottom, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe ultimately decide not to teach.
Yeah.
So I guess I would hope that everything would iron itself out, but I can see a scenario where
people are
doing it for the wrong reasons. And I think, and the reason I think that that's a concern for me is because teaching is so critical in impacting the lives of students for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so I feel like it's critical that we have teachers who are really doing it because they love to teach. They feel a responsibility and a connection to kids and are teaching in a respectful, responsible manner. Mm-hmm. That's not to say that people doing that job, because it's so critical and because it's such a difficult job, I think they absolutely should be paid more. Like, because it's such an important job, like, why are they paid so little? So I don't think that's the point of your topic here.
Well,
today.
No, but I think we can go into this a little bit, because I kind of feel like if we have people going into like certain like careers for the money, like typically from my experience, those are typically the like more educated, smarter, like more like driven people. Mm-hmm. Like I know some people, I do know like of some professions that like pay a lot, and typically the people that go in there, they may not be like, they might not have the most, they work really hard. I would put it like, anybody that is going to do something for the money, they know that is the motivation. They are go-getters. They like, I want to do this because I want to be paid. I want to be rewarded for the work that I put in. And so when I hear like, oh, like some people may like be in it for only the money. Well, if you're doing a really good job,
yeah, and maybe I mean, you just, as you were explaining that, it just thought into my mind, well, maybe there's people that are out here trying to be lawyers because it makes a lot of money, but they really want to be a teacher.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
and like,
exactly.
Too bad teaching isn't something.
Yeah, teaching isn't a sustainable like
option in their mind. Yeah. So I hear what you're saying. And you know, that's why I think these topics are kind of fun to talk about, right?
Yeah.
But I'm happy to talk about this theme a little more, but I did think that the main goal of today was to talk more about, if we were to move forward with it, what would it look like?
Yes, I do think that like that is kind of the main goal, but I believe as well that teachers should be paid more, and I do believe that if you were to pay teachers more, then that would draw a bigger pool of candidates. I think especially male figures, and that would like create a bigger pool and create more competition,
and thus better ultimately teaching,
but better teachers in the classroom. But that's just kind of like,
I mean, I agree with that, and whether that's through a bonus structure or whether that's through a higher base salary, you know, whether that's through kind of like my family in Canada through a pension, right? Maybe their annual base salary through their working years might not be giant compared to others, but to continue receiving that until, and I don't know the details of the pension.
But so like it'd be a pension
anything
structure.
I'm saying is totally made up, but like continue for a long period of time when you've stopped working. That if you were to make enough money to create and support that income in retirement, you would need to be making a ton. You know what I mean? So like it's effectively a really big salary. So anyway, I think there's lots of ways you could do it that would ultimately serve the same purpose of making sure that our teachers doing a critical, important job are financially taken care of. Whereas now I kind of feel like they're laid out to dry. That's my personal opinion. Anyway, so
if you were like, so I think first of all, when you think of like merit for pay, you oftentimes like a bonus, you think of it as like a corporate situation where like people, they bring in X amount, you can see that they've worked this amount of hours, they brought in this amount, this exceeds, maybe it doesn't, or it exceeds their salary, or exceeds like, it's kind of like, it helped the company earn X amount of dollars. And so because there's this excess based off like our pay structure and what we've made this year, then we will kind of give our employees bonuses based off how hard they've worked and how much money they've brought in to the company. And so that's kind of like my base understanding of like, and so that's really difficult for like in an education standpoint, because there really is no like, there is no profit, like there is no there's nothing to.
The question becomes, how do you measure merit?
Well, I think
that's where in a company like mine, you can set metrics for how you measure merit, and my company has very specific metrics for what it means to be merit and to be a good employee that we want to reward. And there's different types of things you can do, and there's different things that get rewarded in different ways, but ultimately everyone's on the same page.
And
how to get it. And there's a little bit of gray area wiggle room. Like I do think that ultimately when we look at how the bonuses are doled out, there is a small percentage that is not up to like a mathematical algorithm, but it is the noise on the signal, right? It is a very small percentage. And if you were to chart out, here's where people ranked on the inputs to the algorithm, and here's where their bonus came out, you're going to get a line with like dots distributed about the line, but it's really tight. It's not like all over the way. It's like, ooh, this is what goes in, we know pretty well what comes out. And I think that's important for everyone involved, because then no one's like, well, I think I had the same inputs as Joe Schmo over here, but somehow Joe Schmo's getting a bigger bonus than me, right? I think when you have quantifiable metrics and a system that's known in advance to everybody playing the game to understand how the outcome gets arrived at, I think that's important. And so in order to dole out what is merit, you do need to have systematic, measurable metrics, because otherwise it does become very subjective, and I think that leads to possibility for toxicity in the environment, whether real or perceived.
Yeah.
But it just leads to like problems.
Yeah. Well,
and so then the question becomes, how do you measure merit for, just like you said, when there's not a profit associated with the work that you're doing?
Yes.
And it's kind of, I kind of feel the same with a lot of like NCAA sports coaches, because for me in my job, there's an element of luck, right? A client has to come to me, or I have to be on certain projects, but at the end of the day, I'm in control of how I perform. And how I perform is what I'm being measured on for my salary and my bonus. I am in control. Like, no, I don't control the algorithm, but like I know the inputs and I'm in control of what I put in. But like a coach on an NCAA team, they're being evaluated on how well the team does. And yes, a coach is important. Yes, a coach does stuff, but at the end of the day, the coach is not out there catching the touchdowns and is not out there throwing the touchdowns. So ultimately, they're being judged and evaluated on something that is not fully in their control. And I feel like that's stressful. And so I kind of feel this, because the first thing that comes to my mind with, okay, for teachers, student performance. Why is that not a metric? And that's again where I'm like, I think that teachers can really, I think you can track student performance and determine some effect of the teacher, but I think it would be a little tough, because I do think that there is a big effect of the students themselves. Yeah. And like if you think about class year to class year, some years you're like, man, I've got a good group of kids this year. Yeah. And other years it's like, whew, this is gonna be doozy, right? And so now think about if you're doing the same thing as a teacher, and or even maybe working harder with the doozier classes, you know, the classes that are tougher to reach. Yes. But yet maybe their performance is lower, so you're getting paid like that. Yeah,
like your merit is not. You don't reach as high.
So that that's what I'm trying to illustrate with. You're being like.
You're being
being evaluated on something that's not fully in your control. Yeah. And so I think that's where it gets hard, is how do we define metrics that, and I think on some level it's okay for things to have some element of luck and some element of out of our control. But again, when we were talking about my line and the points are close to the line, like the effect size of what's in your control needs to be substantially large. If the effect size of what's in your control is so small and most of it is up to subjective or luck or something, that to me creates a system that people can't buy into because they don't feel like it's fair. Yeah. Or they don't feel like it's really tied to their performance. Yeah. Right? And so if it's just a lottery system, that's fine if we all decide we're going to work hard and it's just going to be a lottery. Like if that's what we decide, that's fine. But I'm just saying that kind of goes against merit pay, right? Like that's anti-merit. That's just luck. So I don't know. I think that's where, in my mind, the problem becomes. And like I said, I do think there's measurable ways to help evaluate, like, oh, this is an important aspect of your teaching that's working well, blah blah blah. But if we were to equate that into the student performance, I still think the effect size of the individual student and the individual class that you get is much larger than and I think too, because somebody decides who's in what class, right? Yes. I think that people could also very easily start to be like, well, you got the great class last year. We knew coming in the second graders who was going to be awesome. And it's not fair that they got put in Miss So-and-so's classroom and not in my classroom, right? Or like, I just think that
there are a lot of like relationship dynamics and like student dynamics that like have an effect in the classroom. It can affect how what students perform. Yeah.
Right. So I think that I think student performance is an important aspect of teaching, right? Because ultimately, at the end of the day,
that's what you're there for.
That's what you're there for, and that's what ultimately one would hope a good teacher
strives to
improve,
yes.
right? So I guess as a non-teacher but a perpetual student, I spent so much time in my life as a student. I feel like, and I'm always learning every day. I feel like that would be, it might be interesting to talk about what made a good teacher in our perspective, etc. But I think that would be my biggest stumbling block is I don't have a lot of good ideas at the moment of how to structure some merit-based metrics to assess
teachers' performance.
Yes, that someone could reasonably assign a number to, right? Like I can go observe classrooms and be like, this person has a good cadence in their speech, or this person makes good eye contact, or this person designs lessons that are hands-on and the kids really seem to get, or this person, somehow has that rapport that kids want to pay attention. Like, I think there's lots of things I could go and observe, but am I supposed to score you on that? And then who does the scoring?
Yeah.
Right? And if we're trying to get away from kids on their test scores, and maybe that's part of it, but then it's who's this army of judges? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does there need to be a gymnastic style code of points for teaching? And retired teachers are now the judges, and they show up randomly, and I don't know. That just seems so odd, and somebody has to pay them. They're not going to do that for free. And, this starts to become ridiculous. So anyway, that's where I'm at is I would be so interested to understand and brainstorm unique and creative ways to assess metrics that assess merit.
Mm-hmm.
But I would also be curious, as we talked about, of what the effect size of all these things, because I also feel yes, I want to reward someone that's doing well, but if the things they're doing well at only make a 0.5% difference on the ultimate test score, is that really that matter?
Well, yeah, I think
I'd much rather reward someone that is doing something that makes a 3%, a 5%, a 10% difference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So,
and so that's kind of
yeah.
where I'm maybe we propose this great idea, but all we're assessing is that those things that barely matter.
Yeah. So I definitely think that as you kind of look at if you were to do a merit for pay bonus structure for teachers,
mm-hmm.
Especially in public schools and schools that have state testing, the testing has that testing part needs to be a primary component. Because you need to know are the students able to read and write at grade level? Are they able to do math at grade level? So that testing part to me has to be a critical component of it, because that ultimately is what you're there for. You're there to teach the students.
I fundamentally in a perfect world am 100% on board with that, but in a realistic world that we live in, I'm so anti that, because there's such strong influence of I'm at a rich school with lots of resources and the kids do better just because it's at a school with a bunch of resources.
Yeah, so that I think that so I wouldn't say that a kid or a teacher in a affluent neighborhood and a teacher in a more impoverished, less affluent neighborhood. I don't think they should be competing for the same merit for pay bonus. They shouldn't be competing.
So let's say the state, we're talking about public schools, right? So let's say the state has $1 million to fund this bonus system for all the teachers in the state.
Yeah,
that work at a
I would
school.
say that
Are you saying each school gets its own equal amount?
Yeah, I would say that each school gets their own amount, and you base kind of that bonus structure based off that school and like kind of the expectations for that school.
So you're
Because-
naturally controlling for things like socioeconomic
Yes,
status
yes,
and
like you're naturally controlling
the
that merit.
resources of the school.
Yeah. And so I think or if they're like similar schools that like have similar like, so say like there are some like charter school systems, and like you say, all right, well, your charter school system, you all kind of operate in the same kind of manner. Like here, charter school system, we're going to give you this amount of money. You divvy it up as you see for, but it needs to be used for this purpose of a bonus structure for your teachers. And so if you were to do like public schools, I would think you would either do it by district or by individual schools. And so you give an amount to the district can divvy it up to individual schools as they see fit, or you would say give it to each school gets the same amount and the school can divvy it up based off like metrics. But I think if you are just saying, oh, all third grade teachers, you have this big pool of money, and the ones of you that do great, like I think that would not, I think
it would already be confounded by all the reasons that we've talked about.
And so I do think that state testing scores needs to kind of be on that. And I really like.
And does it have to be state testing if we're thinking at just the school level?
Yeah, I think state level.
Or could it be some other like school-wide thing?
No, I think it's
all the third graders in the school will take it.
No, I think it needs to be like, it needs to be something based off state testing, because ultimately that's like, you need to have kids that are meeting standards that are set by like the state or national level, not like.
Yeah, because it could be too easy to be like, well, it was a COVID year, so we're just going to relax the standards for our second graders.
Or like a school might be like, well, we don't, for whatever reason, like we only need to reach like
our principal doesn't think math is important.
Yeah, so we only need to reach 30. Like I think the state and local level should be setting I think state and national like government should be setting like the standards and what the expectations are. And then the schools are then required to try and achieve those through, and they get measured on state testing. And so you kind of talked a little bit about like the little small section of your like the subjective part of your bonus structure. And I think I hesitate to call it subjective. I think it's just more metrics that aren't as numerically defined. So for example, I know that one of the areas that's I would put in that gray area subjective is at my work for someone of my level, because that's what I really care about, is how much of a mentor you are to junior staff. And so you can put on your timesheet and look at how many hours, but like really it's not just, oh, this person spent 20 hours and this person spent 60 hours over the course of the year mentoring people. It's also, is their mentorship being received well? Are they giving the right messages? Do other people look to them isn't that like
this is what I'm saying is we don't have a hard and fast number of, is their mentorship received well? My supervisor just has to go ask people that I say that I've mentored and be like, do you turn to Hattie for advice? And there are people in our firm that people might say, yeah, that person I go to a lot, they have an open door policy, they're really helpful. And other people are like, I don't go to them quite as much. They're not, so that's what I'm saying. On one level, it's sort of subjective, but on the other level, I don't think it's that subjective. It's just there isn't a numerical X dollars in, Y dollars out. It's more of a,
what is your relationships with others, right?
Yeah.
And so like I feel like for teachers, like I would say that in the past, it's been communicated to me that like your family partnership and kind of how you like deal with families, that's kind of taken into account.
Yeah, I guess you could say it's subjective because, right, some people,
Like if
like
I have a good
if I pull
relationship
10
with you, then I
people,
can come
7 of them might go to one person and 3 might go to another.
yeah,
And so depending on which,
who they feel comfortable with
yeah,
and like who they have
okay.
a relationship with.
All right, you sold me on that. All right, got it.
And so like I really struggle with the like family partnership aspect of it.
As being one of the metrics?
As one of the metrics, because I feel like, especially me as a like male teacher and kind of seeing how like different emails that like my female counterparts may get, and kind of how they like vary. Some of it is based off like the families that they get, and like kind of those dynamics. But like there, like one of my teachers, they received an email from a parent that was upset that they were teaching pronouns. And it's like, I've never received once a receive. I've very
but, like,
rarely.
what pronoun was it? They were teaching?
Like
she,
it was
he,
just, yeah,
they?
he pronouns, he, she, it, they, like, and they were
So
upset
standard
that like,
part of our grammar that's
like they were
required to
teaching
read?
English, and like the parent was upset about this, and like I've never like I can think of very few instances where I've received emails about like the curriculum.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody like wanted some like extra resources to help their kids with the curriculum, but it was never like calling in question of what we were doing. And so like as an administrator, you could look at that and be like, well, like teacher A, like they've had like limited, there's been limited complaints about like what's happening in the classroom. And teacher B, maybe they have more families that are sending emails like that, and that becomes like a ding against them.
Again, that's like you're being judged on something that's out of your control.
Yes.
Yeah. Whether it's subjective or objective, it's still a large
something
element
out of your control. And so things like that, I've never been in a situation where like they like chart like how many disciplinary things your classroom has and things like that. But I could see like in a school environment somebody being like, hey, like what is your classroom like environment like? I do know that routinely on like campuses and high school, like administrators are doing a much better job of like getting into classrooms, like observing the teachers teach. Just as kind of a let's make sure that we're kind of all on the same page and like nobody's going rogue on us, and kind of hopefully prevents all of that. Where hopefully
in some classrooms and not others.
We're hopefully like preventing lawsuits and things like that.
Well, and again, trying to eliminate that aspect of like, oh man, the luck factor. This child got put in this teacher's classroom and is on this great track, and this child got put in this other teacher's classroom and is on not a great track. Like all kids deserve a generally equal. You know, and of course teachers are going to teach things differently. Of course teachers are going to have different styles and relate to kids different ways, but it shouldn't be a like.
Especially drastic. Kids there at the same school, there shouldn't be a drastic difference in the education that they're receiving.
So, okay, but so then if that's the case, shouldn't all the teachers get the same bonus?
What?
If the goal is to have all the different classrooms perform generally equally, wouldn't that mean that all the teachers should get the same bonus?
If all the people perform equally, but they don't perform equally.
So, but then is that on the teacher? Again,
some of it can be on the teacher. Some of it, like it varies from year to year. Because I know, like for me, like I've taught in a classroom, like in a like elementary school classroom for 4 years, and kind of had the same students all for like for the whole entire year. Like 1 year, I had the greatest class ever. We had like a little bit of like discipline issues and stuff like that, but they were fantastic. Like they scored through the roof on test scores. Like I feel like I was the same with all 4 classes, but there was definitely one class that I felt like was kind of from the get go, like they were high achieving students.
Yeah.
I've had other
and a whole class of them, not just
yeah,
like
it was
couple.
like a whole class
yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
And so and they like so it was like I don't know if they planned for me to get like the best class ever because it was like
your first year.
Yeah, it was like my first like it was since I was a newer teacher. They kind of wanted to get me off to a good start. I don't know if that was, but like it worked out really well. I've had other classes where it's like I looked at my class and I looked at another teacher's class and I'm like, well, like
I got my work cut out for me.
I got my work cut out for me. Like, and I could like literally track it and I'd be like, you know what? They are so well behaved in their lines that like she probably or the other teacher gets like an extra
20 minutes
15 to 20 minutes a day of teaching time because like
they do
they get in line, they get to the classroom while my class we have to like redo things and like it like so you look at the end of the year and it's like, well,
20 minutes a day adds up.
Yeah, like it does, and it makes a huge difference. Like it's an extra hour a week.
Yeah. Well, and even independent of the time, right? There's the emotional aspect, right? Of like, nobody's mad at me. I didn't get in trouble. I'm not mad at that. Like, you're just in a calm, peaceful headspace to like learn, right? Which I think also makes a big difference.
And so you kind of have these like.
So should you be rated on that then? Should you?
Have I do think that like ultimately I should still like I'm there to teach and there's like a standard that I should teach to and like if my students don't perform as well, then like it was the luck of the draw that year and like some of it is luck of the draw. I do think that like as you look towards like the merit for pay structure. You do have to take into it as an administrator. I think you should take into account like, do we know this is a difficult class? Do we like?
Because that also
can we track
up
like the growth like from year to year? All right, these students maybe struggled on the testing, so we know that they're gonna like, they're not all of a sudden like gonna be.
Because I was gonna say, I think it would be for the children's best interest to pair the students having the toughest time with the best teachers, which would ultimately, on just face value of were merit for pay based on student performance, would mean that the best teachers are getting the worst bonuses.
The worst performing teachers.
The worst performing students, right? So that also seems counteractive. So I guess all of these things are things why I'm like, I would love a merit for pay.
But it becomes very difficult to figure out.
And so how do we make sure that we can put in place something that is actually rewarding what we want to reward and not just teachers. Random luck, and that it's fair and as reasonably objective as we can make it. So yeah, I just think it's a really tough.
Yeah, it is a tough
thing to approach.
So I think
But in terms of the concept, I'm like we're a capitalistic society. Like everything's competition. Like why would this be any different? Like,
but the problem, the issue with the like we're a capitalist society is that like education doesn't make any money. Like we don't create. Like,
true,
that's the
true
problem.
From that point. But there's still, I guess, competition amongst teachers for those bonus dollars.
Yes,
that's more what I was talking about with competition and like a winner and a loser of like, well, this person performed really well, so they won a lot. This person performed less well, so they won less. Like, I have no problem with that. And that's where I was coming from. But I see what you're saying about
they don't create
there's no profit. But they create value.
Yes, they definitely create value.
And so I think that's just goes back to businesses like mine that are creating a profit. It's really easy to track metrics and it's really easy to track performance. But to your point, businesses that create value in non-monetary ways, it's much more difficult. Yeah.
And so what would be your kind of top 3 things that you would look for or that you think teachers should in a merit bonus structure, what are the top 3 things you think teachers should be?
Like,
metrics.
You mean what attributes of the teacher, or do you?
No. What do you think? Like the top 3 metrics teachers should be used to decide if they, or 1 or 2 metrics that teachers should be used to.
So I think, and this, okay, it's a little. We might need to talk it through for me to come up with like exactly what I'm thinking, but I think that some of the metrics should be raw performance. So for instance, on the state testing, if we took the proportion of students that met a minimum threshold the year prior, right? Is that same proportion meeting the minimum threshold this year? Or is it higher or is it lower? Something to that effect.
Okay.
And maybe we can get more granular of like, well, then there's maybe a proportion that are exceeding, you know how on the state testing, it's not just pass fail, right? It's meets like, expectations, exceeds expectations, blah, blah, blah. So we could get all algorithmic and nitty gritty on that, but I think there should be something that's that. But I also think, and I think we've kind of touched on this in a prior podcast, talking about kids having homework and talking about what kids learn in schools. And I don't think this should be the biggest proportion. So there's also like how much
but like we're not
there yet. So all of those caveats aside, I think that there should also be something for like the proportion of students, or like the proportion of assignments completed, or like homework handed in. Like I think there is an important aspect of school of getting the kids to do what they're supposed to do. So maybe assessing the proportion of assignments completed or homework turned in isn't the best way to measure that. But I think that's an important life skill coming out of school, in addition to the reading and the writing and the math, of like, I attempted to do, right? Maybe I didn't get all the answers right, but I
made an attempt.
And I did what I was supposed to do when I was asked to do it on the timeline I'm supposed to do it, right? Because I mean, you got to pay your electric bill before they shut your electricity off. You know, like there's life lessons that I think is important to reinforce through school.
Okay.
And again, some of that might not be fair, right? Some kids might have parents at home helping them make sure they get all their assignments completed.
Yeah.
Some kids might not, right? So again, I don't know the best way to assess these things, but I think there should be some metrics that are actual academic performance of the students, and I think there should be some metrics that are behavioral of the students, such as completing the assignments.
Okay.
But again, that's also tough to parse out between last year and this year, because I think there's more to it. You know, kids grow and change and mature and have different interests and have to, you know,
but like the students, is there anything else?
And then I think I don't really, I think there should be a professional decorum of like how the teacher conducts themselves, and mostly that's less about, you know, which parents raised hell on which subjects, and more just like how the teachers responded, because oftentimes you can't control what parents come to you and how, but like you can control if your emails are kindly worded or respectful and professional. And again, going back to the concept of, I do think that there should be some part of the metric that's like the teacher at least feels, this is my participation grade, like I am in 100% control on this. I might only be on 10% control on that, but you know, I think there should be some balance, because I also think I'm not limiting this to teachers. I think humans are human, and I think it's shocking how many people in a professional environment do not always act professionally. And so I don't, like I said, I'm not trying to say that to teachers. I think that's true across all professions. But what that means is I'm sure there are some people that have a high level of professional decorum at all times, and some people that less so. And I, particularly around children, I think that's important.
Okay.
So I would say those would be my themes.
Top 3. Yeah. Okay.
What they each look like, and that might be.
You can parse that out.
Yeah.
On a later.
What about what would yours be?
Yeah. So I think that like, so for me, it would kind of be like, the biggest portion is, are you meeting like state standards, like, and testing scores? Because whether we like it or not, like, that's kind of what your job is. That's the biggest portion of your job, is what are you teaching on a daily basis, like, and how are the students, like.
And so would that be like relative to the prior year, or would that be just blanket?
I think just blanket. I think.
So what if like the prior year was 100% of kids met expectations, and then this year 90% met expectations? Like 90% meeting expectations sounds great until you hear that last year it was 100%.
I would, like, if you're reaching 90%, then that's like what?
Even though that means 10% did worse this year than they did last year?
Yeah, like the material got harder. Like it doesn't get like easier. Like there's kids that transferred out. Like no school has the same like.
The same 25 children in.
No, it's not like no teacher has the same 25 students. Those same 25 students don't stay from year to year. And so like they don't stay in the same classroom. So like your classroom, yeah, like one class may have had 100%.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like across the school, they don't have to split it into classes, right? In the school in second grade in 2023 to 2024 year, it might have been these 4 groups of 25 students. But for the 2024 to 2025 school year in third grade, it's a different grouping, but it's the same 100 students. So the school has the scores for all 100 students.
Yes.
The school could just...
In second grade, all 100 of the students passed. And then third grade, 90% of them passed. Well, like, third grade is more difficult. Like, third grade is more challenging. Like, you're not being tested on the same material.
So
are we still like, there's a level that like.
So then what if in second grade it was 10% passed, and in third grade 12% passed, or 20% passed? That's a huge improvement, but still not good overall. So I guess what I'm saying, are you taking into account the prior year's baseline? I'm
taking into account that like, are we the state has a like kind of, I would say like an average level. Like this is what the like typical second grade student should be knowing, and these are the things that they should be doing. I would say like as a school, you probably want like in a like 3 out of every 4 students like performing at like the state standard level.
Yeah, meets expectations.
Yeah, and so if you are like, as long as you're kind of, I arbitrary, but as long as you're meeting that 75% of students, then.
Because that's where I'm saying, what if you happen to get the students that last year, that group, even though they were in different classrooms, not all in the same classroom, but if you were to grab just their scores, what if you got the group that last year was only 50% meeting expectation?
Okay.
And the teacher next door got a group that was 80% meeting expectation. Wouldn't you expect that the teacher next door's group to do better in third grade simply because they were the group of high achievers in second grade?
Yeah, I would expect them to.
And so do you think that teacher deserves to get more bonus because of that?
Well, if I'm an administrator, I wouldn't. Why is it such a big, like, why is it one class has 80% and the other has 50?
Okay, so you're saying you would do a better job trying to wash
it would be
that
a little bit closer. Like, it would be, in my opinion, it would be a lot closer. Like, it would be like, all right, this class has 60%. This class has 65. This has
right, because at some level you only have 100 students.
Like I wouldn't make the classroom so lopsided that like it wouldn't be reasonably
close.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And so that would, in my opinion, kind of
take out that effect.
Yeah, try to create a variable.
And maybe there's one variable that's like raw score.
Yeah.
And then another variable that's the improvement from past year.
Yeah. And I think and you can I'm sure you can do like tracking how like you can do like pre-test and see how students do from like the beginning of the year to the end of the year and things like, so you can track growth. But I definitely think like the standards of which you like.
Okay, so it sounds like you have a large academic performance component.
Yes. I think other would be like the next thing would be kind of like professionalism. But professionalism in like, are you turning things in on time? Are you getting your grades in on time? Like, are you like,
so not necessarily in the interpersonal behavior, but in the
like,
here are the job responsibilities of a teacher.
Are you
doing them on time and doing them as
regularly?
It should be. Yeah. Do you find that a lot of teachers are like way late on stuff like that? Or
I think there are some teachers that are late. I would venture to guess that it's very similar to like a workplace, any workplace environment. Like some people do what they're supposed to do and they do it on time and they don't have any problems with them. And some people you gotta send them emails and like, hey, like we need this, and like that's why you have like business managers and office managers to like send people reminders to be like, hey, these are
supposed to do.
So like I would say that that's very like,
got it.
It's a human thing,
right? Again, that's not a teacher problem. This is human behavior.
And so that would go into like the professionalism.
Okay.
And then kind of very similar to you, like a small portion of it would be, or not similar to you, but similar to what you were saying about like, are you working well with others, and like how is your like interactions, like what do those look like? Do people enjoy working with you, which can be a little bit of a subjective, but like ultimately, like especially with teaching, you have to be able to work with other people. You have to be able to interact with the kids and hopefully give them a positive experience, and you have to interact with families, and
other teachers.
Yeah, other teachers, and so like though, like that would be a much smaller of the portion, but like it would be something that it would be something that I would take into account. So that would be my top 3.
Nice, I like it. Interesting. Well, man, I feel like we could talk about this for days. Do you have any other big like?
No, I think
portions or themes that you wanted to just address on this one.
No, I think that like ultimately for me, like merit for pay, like it's a good idea, but it definitely needs to be fleshed out. Ultimately, I like to see teachers get paid more, and I think if you start off with a higher base salary, like the merit for pay stuff, I don't know if it's as important. And I think it becomes important when you kind of have a lower base salary and you want to try to incentivize people to go into the profession, or reward them, for doing good work.
Right. At the end of the day, I do think it's like a total comp situation. So either you have a lower base and some bonus, or you have a higher base. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. But I definitely agree with you that higher compensation overall, contrary to what I said at the beginning, I think you can convince me to change my opinion, would hopefully entice higher quality people into the teaching profession. So,
all right.
Well, that is what we're doing.
Deuces.